welcome back to one of my other videos. I'm so happy to see you here, and I'm on a roll. Honestly, I'm gonna be honest, I thought I was gonna lack ass and like, oh man, I forgot one Wednesday, but no, I did one for last Wednesday and I snuck one in for Saturday. Now I'm back with Wednesday. I don't know for sure because I'm still doing research. That's the only thing that kind of like holds me back is the research, because I do try to get all the information correctly and as well as build a timeline for you. So that's why sometimes I'm like, oh my god, am I gonna make it? Like, try to sneak one in for either Saturday or try and make it on time for a Wednesday. But like I said, I'll always try on Wednesdays for you. And so today's case, we'll be talking about the secret surgeon who has been living in a family's home for almost a year, and the family suspected something was up, but they weren't sure. So with that being said, just a reminder that my videos are only for educational and entertainment purposes. And with that, let's get to it. So in 2018, sorry, se me fue. In 2018, James and Brittany Campbell flew to Vegas to get married by a very cute Elvis impersonator right in front of a cute pink Cadillac. And a lot of people, I guess at those times were hating on it. They were like, well, why did you do it? Like, what if we wanted to be there? You didn't want to be there. You did not want to be there. You sorry, I had to adjust the camera. You did not want to be there. You wanted a free fucking meal. And I call out anybody who was like, ay, ¿por qué no nos invitaste? That's so wrong. Like, malos modos. Like, no. Like, I know I almost had a wedding and planning it was a fucking headache, and I was just like, I'm only gonna have genuine people there, like really close friends, family, people who I still talk to, not just because you're family I owe you anything. I don't owe you anything, you know. No, just because they tell you that they're your family, you don't owe them anything. Okay, invite who you want to fight. Want to have kids? Cool. You don't want to have kids? Even better, you know. But anyways, at this time Brittany was 36 and she was very energetic, the bubbly one, the one who was mostly like the wild card, who was always down for like last minute things. And James, who was 35 at the time, he was very reserved and pretty much more of a introverted person. And besides, you know, them being like the complete opposites, they really complemented each other. They brought balance to each other, you know. They were like yin and yang, just pretty much, you know, opposites attract. James and Brittany actually dated back in high school, and it didn't mostly work out just because they were going on different paths, you know. They were both trying to figure out what they wanted to do with themselves, so that was the reason. It just didn't work out because of that. So then 2 decades later they end up bumping into each other, and by this time James is a single father of 2 boys. And it was kind of like perfect timing because at this time Brittany was single, and she was I guess in a phase or in an era in her life where she already wanted to settle down, have family, you know, the whole shebang, you know, white picket fence and stuff. I think we all been there. And after a year after James and Brittany got married, James and the boys, they ended up moving to Hawaii because James was actually in the naval.
What did he say?
James was actually still in the Navy. So my bad on that, but he was still in the Navy and he was given orders to move to Hawaii, to Honolulu, Hawaii, actually the capital, Hawaii. And there they ended up moving to a 2-story home. And when you see, well, the way that they described it was like, it was in the suburbs there in Honolulu, where it kind of looked like, you know, your basic suburbs here, you know, or anywhere else, you know. It looked like it was like the suburbs in the state, and nothing different, just more fresh, more humidity, you know, due to the ocean and stuff. But after they moved in and after they settled, you know, into their home, the Campbells actually really liked their home. You know, they were starting to like it a lot. They started adjusting very well, and that didn't last. That did not last long at all. It didn't last long because after a year later living there, Brittany went into the garage to pretty much just to, I'm guessing she was curious or was looking for something specific. So she was like, oh, okay, you know what? It's probably in the garage. I'm gonna go get it because they had all their stuff that they didn't unpack. And once she, you know, she entered the garage and she turned on the lights there, she noticed that all the boxes were on the floor. And she was taken aback of this because, like, she didn't know who has gone to the garage. No one, you know, has told her anything. So she's like asustada. She's like, well, what the heck happened here, you know, like what the fuck? And a lot of the stuff, like I said, it was on the floor and most of it was like spilling out, but she could tell right away that nothing was missing. You know, it was mostly like if someone was looking through it. So that's where she was like, okay, maybe either James or one of the boys came in here looking for something, like as she thought before. But then she also noticed that the boxes were like lined up like back to back or like side to side or whatever, like setting up for like if you were setting up for like a garage sale, a segunda, like you're gonna sell shit. And she was just like what the heck? And so she ended up telling James, and she ended up asking him like, hey, did you do this? Did you come in here and, you know, dejaste este murero? Like, did you just take shit out and not put anything back? He was like, no, it was probably the boys. So they both end up asking the boys, you know, telling them, you're not in trouble. We just want to know, you know, just to verify this, you know, like nobody was in the garage. It was you guys. And the boys right away said like, no, like we weren't in there. It wasn't us, you know. We haven't been in there since we put the stuff in there, you know. And Brittany, she believed the boy. She was like, okay. And I'm like, she right away believed him and wasn't gonna fight them on it or question them. She just took it, you know, okay, fine, you guys didn't do it. But James was like, he was like, these motherfuckers are lying. Like, they're lying. Or as he thought they were lying, you know. He probably thought that the boys were kind of scared that even though they said they were not going to get in trouble, that they were going to get in trouble. And they also thought that maybe it was their cat that they brought back from the States, or the dog that they adopted there in, you know, in Hawaii that could have done the mess. But they dismissed the theory right away because, like I said, there is boxes, like if someone's actually stacked them side to side, you know, like I said, like if they were gonna plan a garage sale or a segunda, una pulguita there, you know, on the corner. And so yeah, they left it at that. They were like, okay, but they were just taking it back. They were like, okay, but I would have not dismissed it. I would have been like panicking, like, who's been in our house? You know, you guys are being honest and no one has been in the house, or no one has gone to the garage and taken shit out, then who was it? You know, I would have been like Nancy Drew in that house, like detective. But a week later, after the whole, you know, the garage stuff, Brittany was home alone getting ready in her master bathroom, and she was doing her makeup in the mirror, just like I'm doing now. Dude, I see this and it's like fucking bothering me. Jesus Christ. Okay, hold on, let me pat. Okay, like I said, she was doing her makeup in her master bathroom, and like I said, she was home alone, and she was just, you know, doing her own thing, you know, probably just jamming out to, like, I don't know, City Girls or something, or, you know. And she out of nowhere, she ended up hearing, you know, a door slammed, and it scared her to the point where, like, she dropped her makeup. She was like, oh fuck, like, the fuck, like, damn. Any harder, you know? I would have been like, hey, watch yourself. Don't be slamming my door like that. But no, like she called out to see if it was probably James because him and the boys ended up stepping out. So she was like, maybe it was one of them. They already came back, you know, which she was like. So she called out, and like I said, like no one reached out, no one said nothing. It was quiet. So then she thought that maybe they came in to probably like drop something off, and then they went back out. And so she calls out again just to make sure, like, hey, James. And nothing, like nothing, nothing. No one responded back. Dude, this looks too dark. Or is it just me? Hold up. It's dark. Where are my Q-tips? Like I said, no one responded back. And she ended up poking her head out of her like bedroom just to see, like, okay, maybe they are here but they didn't hear me, just to clarify, you know. And no, nothing. Like, she didn't see no one in the hallway. Keep in mind, this is a 2-story house, you know. So then she went down the stairs and to the front door, thinking like, okay, they like she said, like they probably came into the house and just dropped something off, but probably are still outside, because it was literally like a second, like boom, and then like they would have not had enough time to kind of freaking open this, I guess. But so she ends up going downstairs and she doesn't see anybody or anything, like I said, anything out of the usual or new in the house, like if someone dropped something off. And she opens the front door, and the car, like James's car or their family car, wasn't there. So she's like, hell, what the hell? And she's kind of taken aback from this, because she's like, that's impossible. They could have not just barged in here and left like that, you know. It's impossible. They could have not done that. And so she quickly shuts the doors and locks them just to double check. And she pretty much does like a double check, like, okay, did I lock the door? I do that too, just because I know sometimes for me, I'm like, oh shit, did I lock it? Did I not? So then I'm like, there, like, let me go check. Like, let me just go double check real quick. And I do sometimes, like, okay, yeah, I did lock it. And then there's times where like, oh shit, I didn't lock it, you know, which is very rare for me, like, that I don't lock it. At least the front door. Sometimes my back door is another story, because then I don't really go to the back. It's more like my son or my husband, and they don't tell me that they go to the back, and they don't end up locking it. So now I'm more on that too. Like, I make sure I double check that as well. And when she went back upstairs, she was just like, what the heck, trying to make sense of it, because she was like, I know I heard something. Oh shit, you get me? Hold on, maybe if I move this like this. Okay, so when she goes back upstairs, she's like, okay, whatever, like, I'll talk to James when I get home. And that's exactly what she does. So when she finally does get home, she talks to James and she's like, hey, by any chance, like, this is what happened. I was doing my makeup, doing my own thing, getting ready for the day, go out or go to work, and I heard the door slam. You know, by any chance did you or the boys come right back or something, and maybe you forgot to tell me or something, or, you know, algo. And James was like, no, that couldn't have not been me, that I would have called you, babe, you know, I would have told you, like, hey, don't freak out, you know, because I know you're gonna freak out. And that maybe she forgot to lock the door, and a draft probably came through and slammed the door. No, that could have not happened, you know. But he told her that, and that she had nothing to worry about, you know, that everything was fine. It was probably just very, very strong freaking winds. So then, like I said, it could not have been that. So then Brittany's like, hell no, it wasn't that. It was not a goddamn draft. You know, I checked the weather. There was no strong winds that day, sir. Or at least I'm guessing she said that, you know, because I'm not sure. But she just said, like, no, that's impossible. She tried to, like, I always make sure the door is locked and so this and that. But, like, the garage incident or the situation, James dismisses it, you know. He's like, no, it's nothing. It's whatever. So then, he just ends up telling Brittany that she's paranoid. And if you know any better, you don't tell a woman or a girl that she's freaking paranoid, because that's just gonna tick us off even more, you know, because you can't, no, don't do that. And you want to live, don't call us that. Don't say we're paranoid, because we will show you. That looks so fucking uneven. But trust the process. But don't call us that, because we will show you paranoid, you know. We will show you crazy. And so Brittany, obviously bothered by this, she got mad, and you know, before you know it, both of them were going at it, you know, like, how can you call me that? I know this happened, this and that. And they ended up falling asleep like that, angry at each other. And later on in the middle of the night, Brittany wakes up, you know, all of a sudden. And I think we all been there where we're like, something feels off and you just wake up, you know. Some people say it's like a body reaction, you know, that it's just your body telling you something's wrong. And that's what she took it as, like her body telling her, like, something's up, wake the fuck up. So then she wakes up and she's looking around her room, and she's kind of like in silence, like expecting something, like is expecting something to pop off, or just expecting something. And so she kind of like, okay, like nothing's happening, nada está pasando. And as she's trying to like lay back and settle into her bed again, she hears clearly like noise downstairs. And it's not a slamming, you know, how she heard earlier that day, like the door like fast, like closing. It's more like a little like the door is closing. So she hears it, you know. I think we all know how a door swings open, like especially if you know your own home, you know how a specific door opens and closes. And she knows this time it's a different door, because it's the back door. It's the back door, which is sliding doors. And she like sits there for a minute, like, am I hearing this? Am I actually hearing this? So then she hears it, and like her heart's racing, and she's like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. So she ends up like shaking, like James, like, hey babe, I know you're mad, but I think someone's in our house trying to break in. And obviously James is like, bitch, like, we literally were having a fight about this earlier. Why are you doing this again? I'm telling you, you're fucking paranoid. And you know, Brittany could tell that he was like kind of like over her shit, like, even though she wasn't, you know, lying, you know, he was pretty much like, you can tell, like, she could see it in his face, like, it's nothing, you know. And she was like, like, okay, you know what, like, fuck this, you know, like, Brittany, you know, she felt the vibe, she got the vibe, and she was like, okay, all right, bitch, like, I'll go check, you know, shit. So then she gets up, and, you know, she puts her robe on, you know, covers herself up, and James ends up telling her, like, get back in bed, like, nothing's wrong, like, you're literally hearing shit, like, nothing's going on. So, like, Brittany, like, she's like, I'm not fucking crazy. I know I heard something or someone downstairs. I clearly heard the back door open and close. So then, like I said, she ends up putting her freaking, like, I'm gonna go check, because you're not gonna go check. So she does. So then she peeps out of her bedroom quietly, and she sees, like, okay, nothing's there. So then she makes her way to the top of the stairs, because all the bedrooms are on the second floor on top. And she just like, okay, nothing's wrong, like, up here it's clear. So then she makes her way to like the top of the stairs, and she is freaking mortified. Like, it's fucking dark. She looks down the stairs, it's fucking dark, and bitch, same. I was scared of the dark, okay? Like, don't judge me on that. I still sleep with a nightlight, and shit. Like I also cannot sleep with like my bedroom door open or like my restroom door open. Like I cannot, like my mind just plays tricks on me and I cannot do that. I panic. Okay, I panic. And it doesn't help that freaking spirit people follow me. That's for another time though, okay? Like if you want to know about it, let me know. But okay, so back to the story. So she's looking down the stairs, she's like, fuck. Like I'm literally gonna have to go down and check for myself. She's like, fuck, I didn't think this through. So she, you know, gets herself together, you know, she's like, fuck it, I gotta go. So then as she makes her way down, because obviously she has to make sure that her family's gonna be safe for the night, you know, not just trying to make sure everything's okay. So she makes her way down the stairs, and when she does and she makes it to the bottom, she notices right away that the door isn't locked. I'm guessing you can tell, like, sorry, I'm guessing that she could tell, like, you know, when you lock it or unlock it. So she knew right away that it was locked. So she's like, why did this motherfucker lie to me? Like, why did James lie to me and say that he did lock it when in reality he didn't? So she's probably thinking like, man, like maybe he was like, oh shit, I didn't lock it, so I don't want her to go check, it come back to me and then get mad at me. So she was probably thinking that. She's like, okay, it's whatever, I'm over it. So she goes and locks it, and then she starts to think like, man, maybe one of the boys, you know, one of her sons ends up going downstairs, they forgot something outside or out to go, or they went to go get something to drink or something. So she checks all downstairs to like, okay, like, no, scoping it out, and nothing, like there's nobody downstairs. So she's like, okay, let me go upstairs and make sure, like maybe it was them and they were like, I just missed them. So then she ends up going to the boys' room and she shakes them up, like pretty much like, hey, like, are you okay? And she could honestly tell right away that they were asleep. Like they were in deep sleep. Like they could have not been them because they were really groggy. They were like really knocked out. And then here comes their mom, like, what, mom? Like they were knocked out. Like they were asleep. So she's like, okay, like what the fuck? Like she's starting to panic, but she doesn't want them to know that she's panicking. So then she goes back to her bedroom and she tells her husband that the door was unlocked. Like, you didn't fucking lock it. Like, I knew it. But she's not gonna tell him, like, I told you so. So she's like, hey, the door downstairs was unlocked. Let's both take the initiative to make sure that the door stays locked at night, you know? So then she also tells her husband, like, hey, I also double checked if maybe it was the boys, you know, just to kind of like knock out every possibility. And she's like, it couldn't have not been the boys, because when I went to go check on the boys, they were knocked out, you know, they could have not been them. So James, obviously being fucking over it, like arguing with her all night about the same subject, he's like, it's nothing, you know, continuing to dismiss it, telling her like, it's nothing, you're overreacting, like you're being paranoid. And obviously you do not do that. You do not call us paranoid, because then y'all guys are in the last minute like, oh yeah, she wasn't paranoid. Like, don't call us paranoid, okay? So then obviously he also thinks, he also says again, like, maybe it was, you know, it was a draft again, you know, it was a draft opening and closing the sliding back doors. I've never seen a fucking draft open and close quietly a sliding door. But that is just me. So I'm sorry, it's just so funny because like I would have wished I would have been in that room like while they're discussing this, and he's telling her all chill, like, no es nada, like it's nothing, like it was the air, era el aire that opened and closed slowly, calladito, quietly, a sliding door. I wish I was in that room while he was telling her that, because oh my god, that would have been funny. So back to it. Clearly Brittany was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, how does that make sense? Like, how? So so she's bringing up like, you're dismissing the garage stuff, you're dismissing what happened earlier, and you're dismissing what just literally happened a couple seconds ago. Like, what the fuck? So obviously, quickly, this escalates to another fight. And it literally goes out through the whole night, you know, until they both, you know, fucking are so exhausted from fighting and they both fall asleep. James would finally not think that Brittany was paranoid because he had his own experience happened to just him, like him only being in the house. So James was alone playing piano, and this happened like maybe a couple days after that incident. I think maybe it was like a couple of weeks, maybe max, but basically James was home alone playing the piano, and he was, you know, prepping himself, getting everything ready, getting comfortable until he was starting to play. And then after a minute, he was like, something doesn't feel right. Like I feel off, like something's up. And obviously this gut feeling was right. So like I said, he knew that he was home alone. And so he was like, what the fuck? Like just looking around like, ¿Qué pedo? So he finally ends up looking through the living room, not through, like getting next to it, but he's sitting in his desk where he's playing the piano or in his bench, and he sees a figure outside the window. So he's like, oh, what the fuck? Like, so then the figure notices him, and he's like, the figure's like, oh shit, gotta bounce, he saw me. So he fucking bolts, the little fucking, or the figure that he saw through the window bolts, and he sees, as James got up to at the same time to see where it went, he noticed through the living room window that it went to the side of the house. And so he tried to like, oh shit, okay, let me go check on the other window, heading to the back of the house. So when James looks to the other window, he can see, like, he couldn't see where it went. Like it just poofed. Like he was like, oh shit, you know. So he's like, man, like he was like trying not to overthink it, you know. He was like, man, maybe I'm overthinking it, you know. It was probably a neighbor, got curious, saw me playing, he liked me, or she, them, they probably sorry, they proms liked me, you know, seeing me playing the piano, and they like how I sounded. So he dismissed it, you know. But he thought to like, well, like what if Brittany is right? What if something is going on? But he dismissed it again. So what he saw that day, deep down he couldn't get over the feeling. Like he was like, fuck, I can't get over it, you know. Like what if it was something? But he also didn't want to tell Brittany, because he also, I guess, deep down didn't want to admit that he was like, fuck Brittany, like you're right, girl, something is going up and something's wrong. And so something else would happen too. And Brittany and the boys, and they all, Jane, Brittany and the boys decided to go out for a movie night. So as Brittany was getting ready and everybody was getting ready, she kept mentioning like, hey, make sure to remind me to get this specific blanket so we can all use it. Because pretty much that specific blanket that she wanted to take, they use it for like movie nights or chilling on the couch, or her just, you know, walking around the house with it, you know, like her little snuggie and shit. So then as they're about to, fuck, I can't open this, the heck, I don't, okay, there it goes. Couldn't open my contour thingy. But so basically everybody starts looking for it, and they're like, what the fuck, like where'd it go? They end up like lifting the couch and shit. They end up checking, you know, Brittany and James' bedroom, the boys' bedroom, and nowhere. It was like, what the fuck? It's usually on top of the couch. They always leave it on top of the couch because that's usually where they mostly use it, you know, like I said, for TV, just to watch TV, or not for movie nights. And they were like, fuck, it's getting late, we gotta bounce, you know. And as they head out, they're like, god damn, like they were just like left with that thought, like where is it? Like that's so weird, like the day that we decide to take that blanket out, we can't find it. So they're like, okay, it's whatever, it's gonna pop out somewhere. So then what's it called, after they came back from the movies and they walk into their house, the first thing that they see is the same blanket that they were like tearing the house apart looking for, is neatly neatly folded on top of the couch. And they're like, they were all looking at each other like, yo, We were all looking for that blanket. It was not there. It was not there. So like now everybody knows. Like now everybody knows and has this feeling of like confirmation that something's up, like something's going on. So finally, when they came back and they saw that, they were like, oh hell no. So after that, like that incident with the whole, did I blend this out? I did not blend that shit out. What the fuck? I couldn't see it. Excuse that. But after that incident with the blanket, it was a few weeks that nothing, like anything happened. No open doors, no missing shit, no shadowy people through the window and shit. And Brittany and James had to, you know, they were spooked, so they had to keep it together, and they were like, fuck, like they were antsy, they were on edge, but like I said, they had to keep it together for the kids. And out of nowhere again, the doors started to open and close, and they would just stay up all night, like hearing this shit. So they were thinking more like on the paranormal side, like, oh fuck, it's just a ghost, you know, like just that. That's what made logic to them. It just came to them like it has to be a fucking ghost, you know. And they also noticed that their dog started barking more. Like it would just randomly bark and then stop, and then again it would go up. At the same time the doors were opening, closing, the dog would bark, and then it would stop when, you know, there was no more noises. So then after a while, in September 2019, the whole family decided to, like, you know what, let's fly out to the States, you know, and go, you know, visit family, take a break, take a breather from all this shit that's happening in the house. And so that's exactly what they did. You know, they were with family. They stayed at a family member's house for like a whole week. So then after that, hold on, let me concentrate doing this shit because I cannot do this while talking to you guys. And I'm not trying to get on my dress. Okay, hold on, give me a minute. Let me just do this side too. Okay, give me 1 second. Sorry. So, like I said, when they finally decided to come back, they came back on the 20th of September. And on their way back to, you know, Honolulu, you know, back to their home and shit, they were honestly like hoping that whatever was causing all this shit, you know, the trouble, the stirring up the pot and shit in their home was, you know, they were hoping it was gone. Like it already did what it did, like spooked them, and yeah, like it got its shits and giggles, it got its spooky on them, and it was done with. But that soon was like, nope, still going. So as they were like leaving the airport, they were feeling this, like, hopefully everything calms down, everything chills out. And you can't blame them, like after dealing with all that shit and then going away to enjoy time with family and then heading back, you're like, you know what you're heading back to, and you're like, fuck, like, it's like going back to work. Like you don't want to go back to work after going, you know, to a festival or to a concert or having a long ass weekend. You don't want to go back to work. But they were really hoping, like I said, that shit stopped. And that would soon be like proven like, nope, let's do this, round 2. So as they were pulling up, you know, as they were driving up to their street, they right away saw, because like their house was like, so they lived in like oh shit, sorry. So they lived in like in a little, my leg's asleep, I'm gonna panic. Okay, so like I said, their house was like in a dead end street, and like as the dead end curves, their house was like right there in the end of the dead end, and they right away saw something was up. So as they were getting closer and closer, Brittany ended up seeing that James' motorcycle was in the front. And Brittany was like, hey, did you by any chance, you know, take your bike out before we left, you know, for a spin before we head out? Did you take it out by any chance and just forget to put it back? And Brittany, like, just looking at James like, did you take it out? He just like nods to her, like not even responding, just saying, like nodding no, like no, like, no, it wasn't me. So as they pull up to the driveway, as they're pulling up to the driveway at the same time, James is opening, you know, the garage door, and right away they see the garage trashed again, like todo tirado. Everything is more worse. It's more spilled out. There's shit that's ripped apart, and it's just like if someone was just freaking digging in there, like looking for shit, like looking for something. And they were like, "Fuck, okay." So then James ends up like getting out of the car at telling Brittany like we were robbed. So he tells her like, hey, call 911. Let them know like what's the situation, what we saw here, and let me go get something real quick. So he goes to the side of the house and he comes back real quick with the sledgehammer. And like I said, he tells Brittany, call 911. And as Brittany's on the phone with the police, James was able to get into the house. And the way the garage was all trashed, the inside of the house was even freaking worse. Like there's shit, like there's stuff that they actually used that was out, was like ripped apart, thrown all over the place. But there was also random things stacked on top of each other, like one by one. Again, like the whole situation of like having little, like if they were having a little garage, so it was just like standing, just either sitting back to back on top, or either getting stacked on top of each other, or just side by side. So then he also notices that there's like medical stuff, like vials, different drugs and chemicals, and James knew that none of that stuff was his, that it wasn't Brittany's, it wasn't the boys', it was not their stuff. So he's like, what the fuck? Like, he probably thought that it was, you know, either a little, you know, someone who's addicted to something broke into their house, decided to, you know, stay while they were gone, and they had all this shit with them. And as he was clearing the first floor, James was making his way. Sorry, let me right here. Okay, sorry. Oh shit, I don't want to get this on my dress. Sorry. Like I said, James was clearing the first floor, and as he was making his way up, he could tell that the hall was also trashed. Like it was all tirado, and he was expecting the same, you know, from the bedroom. So it was to his surprise that the only room that was, I wouldn't say untouched, because when he walks in that room, it's immaculate. It is fucking clean. It is fresh. And he knows his boys. You know, there's one who's very young and a teenager, and they're messy. Boys are messy. And he was surprised that their room was freaking spotless. Like their beds were made, and they never make their beds. Their beds were made, their toys were picked up, their like books were in order. Their clothes was like also like, I'm guessing the clothes that they left out behind afuera, it was also it was left on the bed nicely folded. So he's like, what the fuck? Like he's trying to make logic of this, like what the heck? Like, hope my room is the same way too, because if you did my son's room, you better do mine too. but like I said, the room was immaculate. It was fucking spotless. It was organized. And as he made his way, as he was continuing to go down the hall, he was slowly making his way to his bedroom, but he was also kind of like on high alert. So he was like kind of like creeping, like so as he gets to like the, you know, like the door entry of his room, he sees right away, he would have like what he sees on his bed is fucking wild. Okay, so on his bed was a towel that was neatly placed, and right beside the towel was you know, knives. And it wasn't just regular, well, there were some kitchen knives, but there was also like how do you call them, a scalpel. There were scalpels, but different sizes and shit. So he also knew that there were medical like equipment there. but not like stuff like expensive shit. I guess it was little things that you can actually kind of take from the hospital, like if you really tried and went and took shit, like little knives like that. That's like the scalpel. And he also noticed that some of the medical stuff was on there. You know, not a lot of the chemicals that were like downstairs, like the drugs, but there was stuff as well as what was on there? Oh, the laptop. So the family had a desktop, and I'm pretty sure that was a new model because they would usually use the desktop, you know, the newer one that they got. But they also had an old laptop, and they wouldn't really use it because like I said, they used mostly the desktop. And it was their old laptop that still worked. Like I said, it's just an older model. And the family laptop, the laptop was left open, but the screen was like dark. And by this point, Brittany already got off the phone with the police, and she tells the boys, stay in the car, don't get out, lock the door, and honk if anything, you know, like honk the door, like honk the fucking thing, just in case. And so Brittany, being already on edge, she goes through the house. She slowly makes her way to, you know, she sees how the downstairs is. She makes her way up the stairs. She also sees like right away upstairs is fucking trash, like going up the stairs and stuff. So then she ends up finding James, you know, at the same time where he's like baffled at the fact that that's their laptop. Like, what the fuck is it doing here? Like, I haven't seen this shit either. But he's confused because he's like not saying that it was missing. It was more like he didn't really think of it, like I said, because they were mostly using the desktop. And but I put that shit on my lips, Jesus. And as they're looking at the desktop, they're obviously curious. I mean, curious cat, you know. And they end up, you know, pressing the space bar, and right away the screen lights up. So they're like, oh shit, this was recently, you know, used or something. And right away on the screen there's a document, and the document was titled The Omnivore Trials. And below the omnivore trials, under the title, below it said rehabilitation for rat-like people. If you know, you know. So back to it. As they see that, you know, they end up continuing reading, and below it the document was even more, it was more like they were skimming through it, so it looked more like a diary. And it had all these statements on how he was observing the, you know, the so-called specimens, obviously the Campbell family, Brittany, James, the boys. And he noted a lot of intimate details that like they didn't even think that nobody could be seeing. Like, it's not like someone was stalking them. It was like if someone, like, not like stalking, like obviously they were being stalked because they knew intimate details, but it was more like they thought like they were being stalked as in being followed around. And like I said, obviously he was observing, or they were observing, this family. And it wasn't like here and there. It was every fucking day of every hour for weeks on, for months on end. And it was also noted down that when the family liked, it took notes on like when the family liked to watch TV, what they like to watch TV, what kind of TV they like to watch, like sitcoms, romance, Netflix, Hulu, not sponsored, but he noted that too, like what they like to see. And he also noted like how long they would watch TV for. And he also noted like what everybody would do around the house. And he also stated that now if I heard this shit, I would have flipped out. I would have been pissed. I would have been pissed. And he would, like I said, he knew intimate details, like private conversations that, you know, especially that James and Brittany were having. You know, for example, James and Brittany were struggling to have a baby. And in this note, the document stated, you know, because like I said, it's like a diary. It stated that the specimens should, or the creature, he called Brittany a creature. He called Brittany a creature. And he stated that the creature, Brittany, should stop trying to have another child and concentrate and focus more on the ones that she already has. Like I said, that shit would have boiled the fuck out of me, because why the fuck are you telling me shit like that? The fuck? And so, in this long, you know, document, it also stated that in conclusion to the rehabilitation, the rat-like people would prefer that person would perform several surgeries. And, you know, for example, it would perform, you know, like amputations, and also gender reassignment surgeries as well on them. And there was also a list of like what that specific person needed to do these surgeries, like the tools that they needed, the drugs, the chemicals, and, you know, it also had notes on how to go about these surgeries, what precautions to take. And as James and Brittany see this, they also realize that all the shit that they see on the list, they see it laid out on their bed, and they saw half of it downstairs. So they were like, oh, what the fuck? What the fuck? Like, they were just shooketh. Like, they were like shocked. Like, what the fuck? Let's go back to when, you know, James ended up getting to the house. Like I said, he pulled up to the garage. He opened the garage door. He got the sledgehammer and he tried to open his front door, and he puts the keys in. And as he puts the keys in, he unlocks the door. And as he's trying to push, because he's just trying to push the door, like, not tanto, it wasn't a lot of force, it wasn't tanto fuerza, it was like he's just trying to open it, but it wouldn't open. And he tried again to open it with a little bit more force, and he was met with like some resistance. So it was like something else, like another force pushing back on the door, like, no, don't come in. So as he's trying to like keep this battle of like trying to push open the door, so James is fighting this imaginary or force that he's feeling, you know, pushing against the door to get into his house to see what's going on. And as he's trying to push and push and push, he finally manages to get off. Like, he positions himself like shoulders like that, like boom, and he's able to crack the door a little bit. And suddenly, as he cracks the door open, he's met with like a pair of eyes. So James is like, what the fuck? What the fuck? He's shocked that he's like, who the fuck are you? Like, what are you doing in my house? So then, like, he continues to push harder. Like, James is trying to get into his house, like, seeing these eyes. And and with that, James, you know, he's fucking pissed. Like, who the fuck is this? Like, what the heck are you doing in my house? And James is, like I said, he's mad, and he's just full of this, you know, adrenaline, like, adrenaline. Sorry. And he smashes to the door, and before he could, like, get in there, like, continue to smash through the door, the person or the pair of eyes that he's seeing, they're like, go away, like, this is not your house, go away, like, vete, go away. And James is like, it is my house, like, you're in the wrong house. So then James, even being more, you know, freaking, this is not working out for me. Why is it? Because it's not sharpened. I don't have a sharpener. We're gonna have to work through it though. So James, already being bien calentado, you know, very pissed, he pushes one more time with all his fucking might, being all pissed and boiled, and he's finally able to get in there, and he just grabs that person and just drags them, ends up dragging the man, it was a man, and he ends up dragging the man all the way to the front yard and just fucking throws him, and he threatens him, and James is still holding the sledgehammer, he's still like, you know, mighty Thor, and he tells him, like, if you move, I'm gonna fucking hurt you, don't move. So this whole time that they're waiting for the police, this person, the intruder, whose name ends up being Ezekiel, he was a 20-year-old, you know, man, and he was just staring at James like dodging him out, like, bitch, like, you gonna do me like that? You gonna do me like that? Not even blinking, okay, not even blinking. And when the police finally did get there, he didn't put up a fight. He went just willingly. And with that, sorry for like the wild jump from like no makeup to makeup, but my camera died. Okay, so we were at Ezekiel not resisting arrest, and it turned out that Ezekiel, he was living there a couple months earlier before the Campbells moved in. So he was able, before they moved in, he was able to find a way, you know, when it was abandoned and it wasn't occupied, to sneak in and sneak out of that place. So when he ended up seeing that people were moving in, he just ended up kind of moving into a crawl space in the restroom. So he would just come out and come in whenever he liked, when he knew when people were asleep or when they weren't home. So it was pretty much easy for him to just slip in and slip out from the house. Whenever Ezekiel would come out to, you know, like, view or see the family, you know, kind of watch them, he would have the laptop there with him. It was one of those smaller mini laptops, and he would have, you know, taking the notes, like, okay, you know, Brittany does this, okay, James does that, and the boys do this. So he would just like note down what they would do. And he did admit that he almost did play out on those surgeries, but what fell out of his plan was the fact that the Campbells decided to take that, you know, trip out to the States. So he was there like, what the fuck? Like, he thought that they escaped, so he was just there like, oh my god, my specimens left, what the fuck? And he honestly thought that they just picked up and left, that he probably spooked them off, or they found something better or whatever. But that was the case. So later on, while he's, you know, awaiting for a trial, he ends up beating up his cellmate to death. He ends up beating his cellmate to death, and while he was waiting for the trial, you know. So they ended up sending him to a state hospital, as they were trying to figure out if he was, you know, mentally fit to stand trial for, you know, for the Campbells, and as well for the trial of, you know, killing his inmate, beating him to death. And obviously the Campbells were left, you know, terrified and traumatized, and they did not stay in the Hawaii home. They booked it quick. They were like, no, like, they already felt like in that home a boundary was already crossed. So they were like, no, we can't go back, you know, we can't ever feel secure in that place. And they did end up moving out. When I moved into my house, there was a doll in my attic. One thing about me, I am terrified of fucking clowns and dolls. There was one time that my parents bought my sister these like 4 foot tall dolls, 2 of them, and my ass was like, hell no. And we were sharing a room, okay, so I was like, hell no. So shit, one of the days that it was raining hard as fuck, I just threw those bitches outside. I'm like, oh, you left them outside? Too bad. Sorry, but not sorry. So that's all for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know down below in the comments if I missed anything, or, you know, let me know, how would you react? Like, I would have thrown hands. I think I'm always gonna say that. I would have thrown hands, you know, especially with the kids. Like, you don't mess with the mom and her kids. Like, no, like, no. So, like I said, thank you for stopping by, and double check your doors, your windows, your basement, or your attic. Check everything, okay? Double check. So, you know, ya sabes. Ya sabes. So double check. Porque está cabrón el pedo. Con esto que estaba en la casa por un año, está cabrón. Like, what the fuck? But with that being said, be safe, be smart, and have fun. Bye.